Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. First of all, thank you so much for jumping in and asking questions this week. I really appreciate it. This whole Q&A lives and dies by the questions that you ask, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And likewise, thank you if you've just watched this channel and supported it. Again, I really appreciate you. Now, if you've never seen a Q&A before, what you need to understand is I film these normally on a Tuesday. It's actually a Tuesday today. So you want to get those questions in by sort of Monday, Tuesday morning at the latest. If I miss your questions, I'm very sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Just ask them the following week. Just leave them in the comments of this video and I'll get them to next week. Absolutely not a problem. The other thing is I've not read any of these questions ahead of time, so you're getting my raw, unfiltered opinions. If I think there's a question that kind of is deserving of a longer reply, I will get to that as well. I'll probably do a longer video at some point down the road. Anyway, with that all being said, there's a lot that's been asked this week. I'm looking at it. There are a ton of questions. So we're going to get straight into it with this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Brizelfia. Hello, how you doing? Who says, hi Craig, hope you're going well. Not bad so far, thank you very much. Two questions. If you could only recommend one of your physical products to a new magician who's just starting out, what would you recommend? Well, that's a great question, and it very much depends on budget. And it very much depends on the type of magic that they're wanting to get into. So, for example, if they're wanting to get into kind of sleight of hand with cards, I'd probably recommend the Magic Button Project because I spend an hour going through basic card sleight of hand, and then there's a ton of routines that you can use those button cards for beyond the main routine. I honestly think it's a great lead-in if you are wanting to learn sleight of hand with cards. If you're wanting to learn sleight of hand with coins and you want to do kind of coin magic, I'd probably recommend something like the Mirage coin set or Apparition. I think would be two good shouts. If you want to learn some really basic sleight of hand with coins and you want to do a couple of routines that are very, very easily, I'd probably suggest Level Up, which came out recently. That's a great way to get into copper silver style routines. A lot of the routines are very, very easy. If you're wanting to get into mentalism, I'd probably suggest Evoke, because Evoke has so much material in it, or perhaps even EDC. Both of those projects are absolutely mammoth and allow you to really make the audience think that you're reading minds. If you're wanting like an EDC, if you're kind of more of an amateur magician who just wants to have something with them at all times, Chop or Keymaster I think would be a really good shout. And if you're wanting just an instant gratification card trick that you can do immediately that's going to get really great reactions, I know it's just come out, but I'm not just saying this because it's only just come out. I'd say Superimposed. It's probably the easiest trick that I've ever created. You can do it immediately, but the reactions are insane. So it very much depends. Like, I talked about mentalism and I recommended Evoke, but if you're the sort of person that performs an awful lot to a family audience, or you perform to kids, or, you're going around people's houses and there's a lot of kids or teenagers there, I'd recommend Mind Blocks. So the thing with my material is it's very eclectic. I try to not pigeonhole myself into one area. So it kind of depends what it is that you're looking for. But yeah, I mean, I've got by the time you watch this, the Mirage deck project will have been launched by Alakazam. I'm very proud of that project. The Mirage deck is my favorite gaff deck. And there's so many routines with that Mirage deck that are really, really strong. So you know what? I'd say that maybe the Mirage deck project, if you want something that's self-working but like really, really in-depth and you can do a ton of stuff with it, maybe the Mirage deck project. Any of those will work really well. So there you go. I hope that helps. Okay, so we've got another question from Brizelfia who says, second question, if you could only have one magic wallet with you for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? The answer would be the Orphic wallet. Right now, the Orphic wallet, I have two of them. Ryland has one of them. I have one that's my everyday wallet and I have one that's my magic wallet. I love the Orphic wallet. It's my favorite card in wallet style load. I love loading a card into that wallet, but I also, the peak is amazing. The switch on there is amazing. There's so much to love about that wallet. I'd say the Orphic wallet, if I was only going to have one wallet for the rest of my life, it would definitely be the Orphic wallet, which is why I put some routines on there for the 1914. Okay, so the next question is from Divshan Magician, who says, have you ever had people make up stories as to why they can't pay you before the gig? Normally I take payments 3 days before. Last week, someone said that their payday is only after the wedding. I will 100% get you the money the day after, even though they said the day after was a Sunday. But in good faith, I said, yes, I'd make an exception and did the gig. Then when I followed up later, she ignored the message and I didn't get paid. This was probably my own fault in the first place of believing the story, and I won't do it again. But what would you do in this situation to make them pay now, or is that just not possible? Look, there's a couple of different options here. In terms of what you can do to try and get your money back, you can send a letter. You can you can get a template online for kind of a legal letter, and you can send that and see if that does any good. I very much doubt it will. The bottom line is, without taking these people to court, I don't think you're going to stand much chance. And it's probably going to be more expensive taking them to court, depending on how much you've paid. The other option is you could contact a VA, which is a virtual assistant. I have a friend, a networking colleague, who runs a VA company, and we use them to to chase up outstanding debt. Because the problem is, when you're trying to chase up a debt, there's an emotion invested in there, in that it's your money, and that money should be yours. So it's very difficult to remain professional. Whilst if you contact a VA company and you say, look, I've got this debt, I would like you to try and get it for me, they're only going to charge you for the time that they spend on the phone to the client. But they could literally phone every single day. They could just call that client every day and go, right, okay, we're trying to chase you up, we're trying to chase you up, we're trying to chase you up, we're trying to chase you up. And very, very quickly, a lot of companies have had this before. Within a week, we'll get our money, because they'll be like, oh, God, they're just harassing us constantly. It's not worth it. Let's just pay them. But, that's really the only thing that you can do. I would suggest that you don't get yourself into this situation in the future. Look at this as a learning experience. One of the things that you need to be able to do when you're running a business, and that's what you're doing. If you're charging people for your time, and you're providing a service and they're paying you for that service, that means that you're running a business, right? And when you're running a business, you need to think of your business like a business. And I can't think of any other industry, really, where you would get paid after that. Try going into Tesco and saying, yeah, can I grab those groceries and I'll pay for them a little bit later on. Now, I know there's credit facilities and stuff, and it's kind of like you can get a credit card and you can get this and you can get that, but just walking into a shop and saying, I want all these groceries, I'll come back and pay you next week, that's never going to happen. You go into a restaurant, ask for a meal, and then try and tell them you'll pay them a few days down the line. It's never going to happen. Most people that I know of will charge ahead of time, and that's what you need to do. We say that all payments are due to be paid 2 weeks beforehand. So 2 weeks before the event, that's when the balance is due. And the reason we do that is because if they're messing us around, we've then got time to get another gig. But I would seriously think about running your business like a business. And if they turn around to you and say, I can't pay because of this, you go, well, okay, no problem. Unfortunately, I can't take the booking, but if that changes and you suddenly can find the funds, I would love to be able to book that in for you. And just be strict, because it is a business and you have to treat this business like a business. It's as simple as that. Hopefully that helps, Divashan. I don't think there's going to be much you can do about it this time. Maybe contact a VA company and see what they will do. But outside of that, in the future, make sure that you don't take any bookings on unless they agree to your payment terms. Okay, so the next question is Hankster27, who says, in your last Wednesday's review show, you said the rough and smooth index was easier to use than Dex and almost as fast. Then you said the real value you get from buying Dex is the tutorial. Now that Lloyd gave away the tutorial for free, should I get the rough and smooth index and use the ideas off Dex for this index? Thanks a lot and enjoy your videos. Look, it's up to you, man. If you've got all of the tutorial from Dex, then, that kind of makes sense. I mean, Lloyd did give it away. He gave it away because he was getting into an argument with somebody and he was trying to prove a point. But, he still gave it away. It's up to you. Look, I very much like Eddie's Rough and Smooth Index. I really do. Since we filmed the review show, Ryan has actually started using it. And I said that it's easier to use than Dex. I'd never used an index before Dex. And Now I've used decks, maybe I'm finding that the rough and smooth index is easier because I've now got experience with an index. I don't know, but having seen that index, it is a lot easier to use because of how it's set up, and because that rough and smooth aspect to the cards makes it so much easier to find particular cards easier. You have to do what you have to do, man. You know, I mean, there's no bells and whistles on the rough and smooth index. Like I said, it's a 10-minute tutorial telling you how the index works. You get sent the index and that's it. But it is a damn good index. It's incredibly good. I can't tell you what to do and what not to do. I'm still using decks. Ryland's using the rough and smooth index, and you know, they're both great. They're both great, but as I said, I stand by the review. I stand by the review. If I was a beginner, I'd probably, and I had the knowledge that I have now, I'd probably go with the rough and smooth index. Okay, so the next question is from the Creepy Pasta Poet. Okay, 3673, and the Creepy Pasta Poet says, "What's your favorite trick using a copper silver coin?" Okay, so my new product that came out about 2 months ago, Level Up, is all of my favorite work on the copper silver coin, but the only difference is instead of using coins, I'm using Nintendo Switch cartridges. And my three favorite routines on there are my three favorite routines on there is the main routine, which is like a multi-phase copper silver transposition. That's a really great routine. And also, yeah, so the main routine, thanks to Cam, which is also on the Level Up, which is a version of Curtis Cam's purse frame routine using a copper and a silver coin, but using Switch cartridges. And then my Shades of Imagination routine, I've got a variation of that on Nightshade as well, using a split Nightshade coin, but the original way I did it was just with a copper silver coin, and that was how it's presented on Level Up. So all three of those are great. Outside of that, other great routines, I very much like the classic David Roth copper silver transpo. I think that is an amazing, absolutely amazing way of using a copper silver coin. And still probably, I mean, it's difficult because you're going to do a palm-to-palm switch, which is one of the hardest moves in coin magic, but it's an incredible routine, a great way of doing copper silver. And Dreams of Alchemy, if you've never seen that, it was a routine put out by Keith Bennett, and it was a really good sort of wild coin routine with the coins turning to gold to finish, and it used a couple of copper silver coins. So all of those routines are good. There's a lot of others, but those are the ones that I kind of point to as being my favorite routines to actually jump in with. By the way, if you want to learn the main copper silver transposition that I teach on Level Up, and you don't want to use Level Up, it's called the purple and green coin routine off the Netrix. So if you remember the Netrix and you look at the purple and green coin routine, you'll be able to learn the routine from there as well. Okay, so the next question is from Bloody Alchemy, who says, "I have a question for next Q&A." Right, gotcha. Do you have any advice for house party magic? Either impromptu, or are there any ways I could prep if I suspect I will perform? General advice on house party magic with younger adults would be great. I get booked to do a lot of house parties. I actually really enjoy doing house parties. I was doing one just last weekend. You're talking to being there for a guest, though, aren't you? You know, but improv, any ways that you can prep. If you're there as a guest and you're thinking, well, you know what, I might do something here, I might not do something. If I get asked to perform, I will. I think the first thing you need to do is look into impromptu magic, like magic that you can do anywhere. Now, the two best resources to learn impromptu magic, in my opinion, are Off the Cuff by Greg Wilson and On the Spot by Greg Wilson. Both of those DVDs you can get from Penguin Magic, and they are available as downloads now. They are still, to this day, the best projects to teach you impromptu magic. Both of them are absolutely fantastic. So On the Cuff, On the Spot and Off the Cuff by Greg Wilson. If you want other routines that you can do literally impromptu, I really enjoy doing routines with cans of soda, and a couple of routines that I've done kind of in an impromptu situation an awful lot is Sinful by Wayne Houchin, which you can get as a download, and also Fizzmaster by Paul Harris, which again you can get as a download. Both of those are absolutely fantastic, and you can just be anywhere you want to be, pick up a couple of cans and you're good to go. Coin magic is also a really good way to go with this. You can do a lot of coin magic, learn to do stuff with regular coins, borrow some coins. There's less chance to borrow coins these days, but you still can. While we're on the subject of borrowing things, another great thing is magic with rings. Sorry, if you can borrow a piece of string, most people that have got a house will have a piece of string lying around or a shoelace or something, and you borrow a ring, you can do a kick-ass ring and string routine. And on off the cuff or on the spot, Greg Wilson teaches you how to do various different ring type moves, which are really good as well. In terms of non-impromptu magic, so sort of like your everyday carry stuff, I'd recommend looking into things that you can have on your phone. There's a lot of apps these days and a lot of shortcuts that you can put on your phone that you'll be able to do anytime, anywhere. Stuff that goes on your keychain, I'm a bit biased, but Keymaster is perfect. While we're talking about EDC, Chop, I think, is the perfect EDC because you can borrow a cup, you can borrow a bill, and you're good to go. You just need to carry a Sharpie marker around with you. So any of that. Now, in terms of general performance, if you're dealing, you specifically said young adults, I just make it fun, make it cool. Don't go into a boring 21 card trick. If everyone's drinking and everyone's having a good time, I wouldn't force magic down their throats. I wouldn't do like a 1 hour set and make them want it. As opposed, don't be the guy that turns up to a party and tries to force card tricks on absolutely everybody the second you walk in. Be the person that everybody has to kind of beg, like, oh, come on, do a trick. Oh, we know you're really good. Do a trick. Go on, do a trick for us. Do a trick. But get them wanting the trick and always leave them wanting more. Don't get into a position where you've done so much magic where they go, okay, great, yeah, I'm going to go now. Leave them wanting more. It's better to do 1 or 2 tricks and just end on a high than do like 8 or 9 tricks and just bore them to tears. Okay, so the next question is again from Bloody Alchemy, who says, I'd love to see a messing up trick video with examples. The problem is, I haven't got any videos of me messing up, really. I mean, without being funny, I'm not saying I'm the greatest magician of all time, but I don't really mess up very often. And when I do, you won't even realize it because I'm just going into a different trick. I've realized what's happened. I'm moving into a different trick. So it'd be very difficult to get a video of that, like unless I'm thinking about a live performance here, but you're talking about, I'd love to see a messing up trick video with examples of, hey, I've messed up this trick, what should I do? I can do that. I've got a video that's similar to that right now. If you go on YouTube and you type in, how to never screw up a magic trick, Magic TV, Craig Betty, there's going to be a video that comes up and I go through my exact process to make sure that I never screw up a magic trick and what you do yourself to make sure that'll never happen. So look at that. And if that's not what you're looking for, let me know. We'll come up with another video. Okay, so the next question is from Avatar Barzilay, who says, do you ever think you'll come to Israel to do a lecture? I'd love to chat with you without the Blackpool madness. I'd love to. One of my goals over the next 2 years is to do an awful lot more abroad. So I want to do a lot more lectures abroad in all different countries. I think that's kind of the next phase of my sort of career as a creator. I'd like to do a lot more lectures abroad. Every time I do a lecture over here in the UK, people rave about it. So yeah, that's probably going to be my next thing, and I would love to come to Israel. I've got lots of different countries that I would love to lecture in, and Israel is one of them. So if anybody here wants to book a lecture for a run of lectures in another country, then please let me know. I am only too happy to help. Okay, so the next question is from Donald J. White, who says, hi, Craig. Hi, how you doing? Thanks for all your content. It's all great. Thank you very much. Any plans to put expanded routines with Apparition, Mirage Coin Set, or Chop on the Netrix? I recently joined the Netrix, and I'm very satisfied with the content. Keep up the great work. Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Donald. So I'm planning on putting a ton of routines on there. As you know, if you're a member of the Netrix, every 2 weeks we put a bunch more routines on there. But in terms of putting routines with Apparition, the Mirage Coin Set, and Chop on the Netrix, probably not, just because I don't think it's fair on people that have bought Mirage to have to become a member of the Netrix if they're not, to learn more routines. So a lot of the time when I come up with more routines for any trick, I'll send them on to the company I've produced the trick for and have them re-promote it and add it into the accounts of the people that have already bought it. So recently, Penguin put out an email about, hey, we've got new routines for Chop. And they've just, if you go and buy Chop now, you're going to see that there's more than one video, because I go through how to do new routines with Chop that are different to what was on the tutorial. So typically, if I have more routines for a particular subject, I tend to put them onto there. Like, for example, you talk about Mirage Coin Set and Apparition. I'm going over to Alakazam later this year, and I'm going to be doing an academy on new routines with Apparition, Mirage, and Nightshade. So that's the example that I mean. I probably wouldn't put it on the Netrix because I want to make them accessible to everybody. And the stuff that I put on the Netrix is stuff that is a little bit different to any of the physical products I've put out. So hopefully that makes sense. But don't worry, there's going to be an awful lot of new stuff going up on the Netrix every 2 weeks. Okay, so the next question from Donald J. White is, do you have any experience with Paul Harris's The Little Man? And the answer is no. I never saw it. I know there was a lot of controversy about it when it first came out, and I know it's not really been around for a long while, but I never picked it up. It was when I was kind of away from the Magic community. It's not something that I ever I was aware of it, and I was aware of the controversy, but I never picked it up. So I can't comment on it because I haven't got it, and I don't even know if it's available anymore. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Peters, who says, I know this is probably overthinking it, but what would you do if you were doing a bill switch and the spectator's bill was noticeably different from yours, like brand new or obviously old, etc.? I don't think that's overthinking it. I think that that's a really important question. So here's what I would say. If you are doing a trick and you're switching one bill for another and you don't want the spectator to be aware that the bill is being switched, if they look different, like one's old and one's new, I would not do that routine. Now, the beautiful thing about this is, let's say I've got a brand new bill in my thumb tip, and you should never put a brand new bill in your thumb tip anyway, because not everybody else is going to have a brand new bill that they're going to lend it to you. I say thumb tip because you're talking bill switch, and that's the obvious way to do a bill switch. But if, let's just say for argument's sake, you've got a brand new bill in your thumb tip and you go to somebody and you go, hey, lend me a bill. I want to show you something with a dollar bill. Lend me a bill. So they lend you the bill and it looks completely different. It's ripped, it's crumpled, it's old. You know that that's not going to fly if you switch it for the other one. And the routine that you're doing involves doing some sort of secret switch that they're not aware of. What I would do is I would just switch it up and go into a different routine with that bill. Because the beautiful thing about Magic is you don't know, the spectator doesn't know where you're going to go with this. They just know that you've borrowed a bill. They don't know what you're going to do with it. They don't know if it's got something to do with anything. So you have the chance in front of you to see the bill they've lent you and go, right, okay, I'm not going to be able to do this with it, so I'm going to do this instead, and go into a different routine. Make a list of all the different routines that you can do with a bill that does not require the bill switch, and then do one of those, like one of my favorite routines to do with a bill. And this was kind of a backup routine. I don't use bills as much these days, but back in the day, my backup routine with a bill was, I think it's called Dining on Dollars. I learned it off Michael Lamar's Easy to Master Money series. It's where you kind of take a bill and you go, you eat it, and you spit it back on again. I used to love doing that routine. I really did. It was one of my favorite routines to perform for a long time. I used to do that an awful lot. And then I had a wrinkle at the end that was very, very different to it, that allowed you to clean it up and give them the bill back. But it doesn't have to be that routine, but go into something. You know, if the switch is not going to fly, then go into something else. Or, you know, the other option that you can do is you could, if they give you a bill and it's really old, and you go, okay, this isn't going to fly. You say, actually, let's get a couple more bills. Can you lend me a bill? Can you lend me a bill? Can you lend me a bill? Get 5 bills, and one of them is going to be the perfect look. And just make sure that you lay the 5 bills out so that the perfect one is set for Quinta. And then you say, okay, we've got 5 bills that have been lent to me. We're going to pick one at random. Give me a number between 0 and 50. 27. Okay, boom. Okay, we ended up on this one. And now you've forced the bill that's the closest match to the bill in your thumb tip. Anything like that will work. But remember, you're in control of which direction the trick goes. Okay, so the next question is from Armin Peter, who says, my shell dropped and the coin got stuck a few times. I put it in a glass and shook it around, fixed it quite nicely. I think I learned that from Roy. Yeah, that is another method to get that shell loose. That works really well as well. So yeah, I'm not surprised Roy would have told you that, because that is a perfect way to fix it. So yeah, thank you for that. That really helps. Okay, so the next question is from Maxim, who says, for creators to send you free stuff, for the creators to send you stuff for free, you have to give an honest review. Laugh, laugh, laugh emoji. You think these other reviewers don't get free items? Laugh, laugh, laugh emoji. I don't know what Maxim's saying there. Probably if you get something sent for free, it's not an honest review. That's totally not the case at all. I've had stuff sent to me for free and I've not given it a very good review at all. It's happened more than once. I always say to people, hey, you can send me something if you want to, but if you don't like it, then if I don't like it, I'm going to be completely honest with you. And the problem with reviewing items is if you give a positive review, people will say, oh, you're being biased. If you give a negative review, people will say, oh, you're being too mean. You can't win. I've had that happen so many times. Just recently, the creators of Acronym were very unhappy with my review. They said that I was being mean towards them because I didn't give it a positive review, which wasn't the case. I thought I was being very nice, but, you know, that was their decision. Fair enough. But then, like, literally the week before, somebody will go, oh, he's only giving these people a good review because he's, you know, whatever. You just can't win. As a magic reviewer, you can't win. You're either too nice or you're too strict. So all you can do is go out and do the best that you can do and just talk people through what the pros and cons are from your point of view. But in terms of the question, it's not really a question, but in terms of what you're saying there, Maxim, every single review I do is 100% honest. Okay, so the next question is from Mike on a Box, who says he's referring to my answer to the question last week about how to deal with a heckler. And he says, I say, hey, the best advice I can give you is to laugh it off. And I give an example of, hey, yeah, you think magic's real? You can go back and look at his question if you want to. He says, if that's reaction you have, isn't that acting like I know it all, or coming across as too aggressive? Doesn't look like a laugh out loud reaction. And here's the thing, Mike, it's really down to character. So my character, when I'm performing close-up magic, can get away with stuff like that. But not everybody can. And that's fine. And there's other people that will present things in one way, and I couldn't do that in a million years. I've been doing this long enough to know that when I give a, you know, if I present something a particular way, I know where the line is, and I know how far I can go up to that line and not go any further. I'm totally aware of it all because of the experience that I've got as a performer and the experience that I've got with my character. So my character is very kind of laughy, jokey, take the piss. If you watch any of my live performance videos, you'll see that I take the mick out of people, I joke around with people, but I joke around with myself as well. I don't take anything too seriously. So yeah, it could come across as too aggressive for the wrong person. So there was somebody, a magician who I mentored many, many years ago, and he watched my style on stage. Now, if you've not seen my style on stage, go and have a look at the various videos that I've put up. But he tried to copy my style on stage. And my style on stage is very kind of me with the volume turned up. So I don't want to say the word aggressive, but, you know, kind of in your face. And he tried to copy the same sort of style, but it didn't suit him. And he was dying on his arse every single gig, and people were just turning on him. He got to one point where he kind of said something to somebody, and they almost like came on stage and had a fight with him. And it was only when he was able to develop his own style that wasn't copying my style that he was able to progress and advance as a performer. So, yes, I understand where you're coming from. And you're right, maybe it comes across as aggressive to you, but if you saw, and it's kind of a little bit of an alien environment, doing it in a studio environment to a camera and it's just me here. But in a real world situation, if I was delivering lines like that to an audience, they would just be laughing because of the way that I'm actually delivering. And by that point, they are aware of my character. I've won them over before I've even started doing that. So I think taking that into context, that's kind of really important. Okay, so the next question is from Alan Zom, who says, Craig, what happened to the hidden gems? I really enjoyed that series. Yeah, we've given it a rest for a little bit just because I was too busy to put them together. But we are bringing them back. The Hidden Gem series is definitely coming back. They normally went out on a Wednesday evening. What I need to do is spend some time filming some more of them. Something had to give, and it's been a busy few months. But we are planning on bringing them back, and I'll get to do that sooner rather than later. Okay, so the next question is from Matthew Waynell, who says, "Hi Craig, do you know of any resources for learning how to build a stage show? As well, do you know of any downloads or books which cover a lot of good stage tricks? And do you know of any affordable stage tricks that play really big? Thank you." And Ryan Chard has replied and said, "Stage by Stage by John Graham," which is absolutely true. Stage by Stage is absolutely amazing. It's definitely a book that you want to look at. And also the, is it Parlor Tricks by Morgan and West, I think, is also an incredible book that's well worth looking into as well. And I believe John Armstrong has just brought a new book out as well. I believe that John Armstrong has just brought a new book out, and it's all to do with this sort of stuff as well. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm wanting to get it. Let me see if I can find it. I'm a big John Armstrong fan. I've interviewed him on this channel, and I'm pretty sure that there was a new John Armstrong book that I clocked the other day. Here you go. It's literally just come out. How to Win. How to Win. John Armstrong shares thoughts, theories, and techniques to make your stand-up magic capable of winning over even the toughest of crowds, including tested routines that you'll love to perform as much as your audiences will love to watch. A great resource for stand-up magic pros and those starting on their journey to the stage. He's got some great quotes from people like Ken Scott, Taylor Hughes, Chris Philpott, Levant, Ken Webber, Ian Kendall, Brent Braun. Says it all, really. There's some great quotes in there. So it says here, fun to read book about making your stand-up magic better for both beginners and professionals. I would say I haven't read it, but it stuck out to me as an amazing book and something that I definitely want to get. So I'd look into that. I'm also doing a big video on Magic TV and a bunch of other videos that are going up on the Netrix soon as well. We're really kind of dive deep into stage magic over on the Netrix and on Magic TV, because that's something that a lot of people want to know of. And then the second part of your question is, do I know of any affordable stage tricks that play really big? Stuff that I would recommend. I put a video out on how to run an awesome parlor show a little while ago. You can have a look at that. And also Christmas 2023, I put up my full live act from the House of from Smoke and Mirrors, and all of that stuff plays big. Suit Jacket Escape is a great one. Multiplying Balls, Venom Cube, Cube Wall. All of that stuff works really well. If you're kind of more into mentalism, No Brainer by Bill Abbott is a really great prop. Is it People Power by Andy Gladwin is an amazing stage item. There's so many. There's a big stage section on the Netrix as well. It's well worth looking at the stage section on the Netrix. I do something called Destination Mistake, which I perform all of the time. That works really well. Cards Across, specifically, Scott Alexander's Superfly is a great, absolutely amazing kind of routine that's definitely worth learning, that will play to bigger audiences. But Cards Across in general is a great routine for stage because it really does play big, as does Multiple Selection, depending on the size of the audience. Multiple Selection is a really great routine to do as well. So any of those will work brilliantly, and I'd recommend any one of them. But we are putting more stage items on the Netrix as well over the coming weeks and months. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Devereux, who says, "Hi Craig, hope you and the family are doing well. There's a lot of tricks I want to buy but can't afford it, and when I have the money it's out of stock or discontinued, which is a real pain. How to get around that? Thanks, Stephen Rowe." I don't really have any advice on that one, mate. That's the thing. A lot of tricks that come out, they're on a limited run. They're not going to be there forever. It's why when I see something that I really like, I tend to buy 2 of them, because I know that there might be a chance in the future that I need a replacement and there will not be a replacement available. So if it's affordable, I might get a second one. The only option here really is, if you like it and you want it, then you're going to have to get it. Maybe just hold back on buying everything. Save up a pot of money so when that thing comes out that you know you absolutely need, you can buy it there and then, as opposed to buying stuff that is okay, that you think might fit, and then when you get that thing that you really want, you haven't got the money for it. The other thing that I would say is, if it's out of stock at a magic shop, it's normally because the creator of the product has put it in through Murphy's. So what happens, right, is when you create a product and it goes into magic shops, it normally goes through Murphy's. So you would make this trick and you would contact Murphy's and say, hey, I want you to wholesale this trick for me. When they get the trick, they then sell it to every single magic shop around the world. Now, when they sell out at Murphy's, Murphy's will contact the creator and say, hey, we need to buy more of your product. Can you send us more? And it might not be worthwhile sending any more units to Murphy's, depending on how much it costs to make up, or, there's a million factors why you wouldn't want to send any more to them. That's when it becomes discontinued. If you contact the original creator, they might have a few left in stock that they didn't send to Murphy's, because a lot of the creators, when they make something, it might be out of stock at Murphy's and therefore out of stock at every other magic shop, but they might keep a few themselves for online sales or conventions, or so on and so forth. So what I would suggest you do is, if there's something you really like and it's out of stock, contact the creator and see if you can get one directly from them. Okay, so the next question is from Robin Fisher, who says, what's the best stage trick that would fit with some other props in a TCC close-up case? Stage tricks that would fit in the TCC close-up case. Well, cups and balls plays really big on stage. That might be something you want to look at. And on that subject, Chop Cup would also play really big on there. A great stage trick is fibre optics or ring on rope, or any sort of rope routine which would fit inside a case. Books would normally fit inside a case really well. So, the Zanman book test is great. You can do an awful lot with the Zanman book test, including Pegasus Page. That might be something that you want to look at. Pegasus Page is a great routine that will play really big on stage. Just having a thumb tip and a bill and doing a bill switch routine can play really big on stage if you do it correctly. Having a set of linking rings, like a ninja ring set, not the big rings, will still play really well on stage from a distance, but those rings will fit in a case no problem. On the subject of books, you might want to look into, I've got a routine on my Penguin Live, which is using a book called Celebrity Pressage by Brent Barry, which is a fantastic book test, and I'm using it with an invisible deck, and a lot of people said that's the favourite routine off the Penguin Live, so you might want to look into that, or at least just get the actual book. The Celebrity Pressage is brilliant. Any sort of book would fit in there, to be honest, actually. So there's lots of different books. If you want a really funny routine that will play really well, Sean Farquhar's Sheer Luck will play to the biggest crowd. I've done it as front of cloth pieces in an illusion show for 4,000 or 5,000 people, and that will fit in a TCC case no problem. Another thing is a destination box. I talked about that earlier on, but if you've got a destination box and a pack of cards, that's the closer to my cabaret show, and it takes up virtually no space. Ryland always has in his stage show egg bag and multiplying balls. Egg bag and multiplying balls take up no space, and yet they play absolutely massive. Ryan was doing a show over the weekend to 350 people, and he did both egg bag and multiplying balls. And both of those fit in a little close-up case, no problem. Talking about Ryland, Venom Cube and Cube Buster are two cube-related products that would fit in a TCC case that play really big as well. So there you go. There's a few off the top of my head. There's probably more, but that'll give you kind of an... Oh, and I'll give you one more because it's just popped into my head. Another book one. Cody's Comedy Book Test is a fantastic book test that, again, will play to a big audience. Okay, so the next question is from Divishan Magician, who says, this might be a pointless question because it just might not be possible. Do you have any ways to make sure a wand doesn't roll off a restaurant table during Chop Cup? Ideally, I'd want to use an actual wand and not a Sharpie. I can keep it on the side where the cup blocks it from rolling off because I need to pick the wand up with my right hand. Do I have any ways of making sure it doesn't roll off? And a couple of people have said glue a small bead to it, screw a small round-headed wand screw into one side of the wand. Both of those will work fine. Another thing is, if it's a wooden table or if it's a solid surface, that's when it's going to roll. If there's a napkin on the table, or if you take the cups and balls or the chop cup out of a bag and you put the bag on the table, put the wand on top of that. If it's a nice velvet bag, that's going to stop that ball from rolling around. That's going to stop that wand from rolling around by putting it on that velvet bag or by putting it on a napkin or something like that. But to be honest, when I don't use a wand with chop cup anymore. I haven't done for a very long time. But when I used to, with cups and balls and chop cup, I got into the habit of putting the wand under my arm. So I would have the wand up here the whole time and I would not put it down on the table. So I was reaching under my arm to grab it, and that way it's not rolling around anywhere. So put it under your arm, put it onto a velvet bag, or as Michael James and Scott Lou Renferes has said, screw something at the end to stop it from rolling over. Okay, so the next question is Robin Fisher, who says, hi Craig, I'm Robin and I'm 17 years old and I have a little problem. I have a lot of magic tricks that I've collected over the years, but I have a TCC case, and the idea came to my mind that I could store my best tricks there and sell the others to own more professional tricks. The others I show very little and most of it's just random stuff. What do you think of this idea? Yeah, I mean, if there's a trick that you don't use that you want to sell, there's lots of second-hand selling sites on Facebook. That'd probably be the best way to do it, to be perfectly honest. And, that's going to have a captive group of magicians that are going to be watching it. But yeah, you never know. I tend not to sell very much at all because I never know where it's going to come in useful. But then again, I'm a hoarder. I hoard stuff. My wife absolutely hates it. But yeah, I mean, it's a good idea to focus on the stuff that you perform the most, focus on the stuff that you enjoy performing the most, that gets the best reactions, and then buy other stuff that you think will come up to that level. Absolutely. Okay, so the next question is from Palms Warrior, who said, why did you pull the Asher Twist video after 2 days? I've unlisted it. I've not pulled it. I've just unlisted it. And the reason is Lee Asher contacted me and he sent me a very nice email. And one of the things that he talked about in there is my technique was slightly wrong. Now, he didn't ask me to take the video down at all. He didn't say take it down or anything like that. In fact, he was very complimentary of the whole video and about what was said in there and all the nice things I had to say about it to him. But he pointed out that I was doing something slightly wrong, which I was never aware of because I'd learnt it and I thought I was doing it the right way. So in respect to Lee Asher, I took the video down. I plan on putting it back up again, but this time putting it up with the correct performance. He sent me a video, very, very nicely sent me a video of exactly where I was going wrong and what I needed to do to fix it. And so I'm currently rehearsing the correct way to do the Asher Twist, and then I'm going to put it back up again because, I want to respect the creator. If he says, hey, it could be look better this way, that's what I'm going to do. So there's no conspiracy here. I took it down just because I thought I should do out of respect to Lee Asher. Okay, so the next question is MCK Magic, who says, McKay Magic. Hi, Craig, I have 2 kid shows on Saturday, and frankly, I'm terrified, but hey-ho, to paraphrase you, it's my fault I took the gig. Can you tell a story of the worst kid show you've ever done and lessons you learned? Thanks all you do for Magic TV. It's a great way to avoid studying for my GCSEs. You're more than welcome. The worst kid show I ever did, I think I'll give you 2, and I think I might have told this story a couple of years ago. The first is when I started doing nurseries. And I started doing nurseries. This is back when I had a business partner called Russell. And we started doing nurseries together. And we insisted on doing just the graduation age. So sort of the 4-year-olds before they leave to go to school. And everything was fine. I could handle 4-year-olds, no problem. But we took a booking and there was a miscommunication. And we went to this nursery and we were supposed to do 3 shows for 3 different groups of children. And when we got there, we realised that the third group of children were sort of 1 and 2-year-olds or 1 and 2.5-year-olds. And I remember turning around to Russ and going, the hell do you do to a 1 and 2 year old? They can't even speak. Everything's magic. You put a light on in the room, that's magic. What the hell am I meant to do with that situation? What? And he was like, well, we're here now. We're going to have to do it. And the first 2 shows went well because they were with older kids. And the third one, I remember walking into this room with Russ, and we did the shows together back in the day. So we did the kids shows together. So him and I walked forward and we looked down, and there were all these kids, babies basically, and toddlers, sitting with all of the nursery staff. And I've always been loud, and I've always been kind of big and, rah. So I just look out in the audience and I go, hello! And immediately, pretty much every single kid in that room started crying, bawling, absolutely every single kid. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I looked around for Russ and he wasn't there. And we had one of those roll-on tables back in the day. And I looked and I saw his foot sticking out from behind this roll-on table. So I went behind it, and there was Russ hiding behind the table. And the reason he was hiding behind the table is because he was laughing his arse off. Like, he was just like laughing. He was trying to stop himself from being heard, but tears were streaming down his eyes. And it was the most awkward experience. I was like, what are we going to do? He's like, it just died on my arse. We just spent the entire half an hour. It was only a half an hour show, and we spent half an hour dying on our arse. The kids just didn't get it at all. So, what did I learn from there? Don't perform for that age range. Perform for all that. You know your age range and know what you're good at and stick to that. And I've got people in my company that are brilliant at Tiny Tots parties. I'm not one of them. The second experience, and I don't think I've ever told this story as well. Before I actually was business partners with Russell, I was business partners with his dad, Ethan. We used to run a company called Kids Love Magic. And the first time we ever did a kids show, he was so much better of a kids magician than me. I was a close-up magician. I was really good at close-up. Couldn't do kids gigs to save my life. The thought of doing a kids gig terrified me. And we'd arranged to do this kids show together. And it was the first kids show we'd done. And it was in a school. Because why not, right? And it was for kind of, I think, year 3 or something like that. So it was like 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. And we had to do a 1-hour show. So we walked out and we were on this stage to about 100 kids or something. It was like a 4-form-entry school. How we got that gig, I don't know. I think it was a friend of Ethan's. We walked out on stage, and the whole idea, we hadn't planned this 2-person show very well. It was like, he does a trick, I do a trick, he does a trick, I do a trick. So he went out first of all. We came out together and went, hi, I'm Craig, I'm Ethan. We're going to do some magic for you today. And I disappeared. And he did his trick, his 10 minutes. And the kids were hating it. Neither one of us had much experience doing magic for kids. He was better than me, and they were just like not listening to him. And then he was like, please welcome on stage Craig. And he gave me a look as he walked off stage and I walked on stage, and he was like, and my next routine was, my first routine to perform to these kids was meant to be about 9 minutes long, and it involved making a handkerchief disappear and a thumb tip with lots of bits of business. And I was just like terrified, and I was like, literally within 20 seconds, I was just like, look, I've got a handkerchief, I put it in my hand, look at this, boom, it's disappeared. Please welcome back Ethan. And literally 15 seconds, I'd finished my trick. He looked so annoyed. And he just came walking back on stage. He looked so pissed. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. And then after he's done his trick, I'm going to have to come on and do mine. So I found a door in the back and I just walked off. I'm not professional at all. Back in the day, this was terrible. I was just like, he's going to do a much better job than me. I'm just going to ruin this whole thing. So I just left through the back door and left him to it. And he was very annoyed, as you can imagine. But he agreed that it probably would have been better if I wasn't there. It took me a long time to get good at kids magic. I was I'm bad at everything. I really am. I suck at everything. The only reason I've got good at anything is because I spend a long time doing it. I'm so dumb I refuse to quit. But I'm just crap at everything when I first start for a long time. I eventually got good, but it took me a long time to get there. And what did I learn from that? What did I learn from that? If there's somebody better, let him do it. I don't know. Just I was really frustrated with myself that I let the nerves get to me. And I think in the future, I think after that point, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to stick it out no matter what. And I think it was because I had him there with me that I knew I could leave and he would still be able to do it. So after that, I kind of started doing it on my own. And then we did a 2-person show together, which was a lot better. by the by, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it was a difficult situation. Okay, so Michael Warsham says, hey Craig, thanks for mentioning the Rubicup. I'd never heard of it, but it looks pretty good. I'd be interested in your review and how well it works for other things like rings, buttons, bolts, candy, and maybe even the key. Yeah, I'm hoping to get that review filmed this week if I get time. It looks really good. Okay, we've got one last set of questions here, which came through as an email. And normally when people email, I just reply back on email. But these were really good questions, so I thought I'd include them on the Q&A. I'm not going to say the person's name, but I'm going to read out some of what he said. Hi, Craig. Love the YouTube channel and the tricks you've come up with in the past. Thank you very much. I was wondering if you had any advice for a budding magic creator stroke hobbyist. A bit about me. I'm a hobbyist magician, practicing magic in my spare time and doing occasional performances for family special occasions. In my years of collecting tricks, learning what I can, and a small amount of performing, I've come up with a few tricks myself that I would love to see used out there in the real world to see what professionals make of them. I have some questions for you. Number one, how can I make my tricks safe from being stolen or replicated? Two, what's the process or options to have a trick packaged up into something that would then be able to be sold on one of the main magic websites? And three, any general advice on how I can use my talent of problem solving to get into this magical world without necessarily being the performer? Thanks for taking my time to accommodate my questions. Okay, so first of all, how can I make the trick safe from being replicated? The best piece of advice I can give you is twofold. Number one, if you think the routines are really good, well, first of all, you can video it and put it up as an unlisted video on YouTube. Then it's time-stamped. Right, so you can say, if you've got an idea for a trick, you can timestamp it and put it up on YouTube and say, hey, this is my idea, dated, blah, 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 blah. Then if you show it around to other people and magically it gets released as somebody else's trick, you can say, whoa, 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 I did this first. Look, I did this on this date and I actually showed it you. You know, by having it on it as an unlisted video on YouTube, that would really work well. The second thing that you can do is publish that trick. Now, that could be an ebook, or it could be submitting it to a magazine. You know, there's an old expression, the best place to hide a trick is in print. And it really is. Send the trick into print and publish it in there. It won't affect sales when that trick eventually comes out. But if somebody brings it out before you can bring yours out, you can say, well, hang on a minute, I did this first. Look, I've got it in print. Look at this magazine on this date, and you can actually see that it's there as me, credited to me. The only other piece of advice I can give you is when you're showing it around, try to make sure that you're showing it to people you can trust. Now, I know that can be difficult sometimes, but try your absolute best. What's the process to have a trick packaged up into something that would then be able to be sold on one of the main magic websites? I've got a video that I put up a couple of weeks ago on how to pitch a product to a producer. That was very in-depth. I would go back and look at that video because that's got everything that I know on how to take a trick and market it to a producer who will bring it out on your behalf. I have another video coming up in the next couple of weeks, which is how to self-produce your own trick. So if you don't want to go through a producer, how to actually make your own trick and sell it yourself. So I'm not going to talk about that right now. The first video is already up. You can go and look at that. The second video will be up in the next week or so. And the final point, any general advice on how I can use my talent of problem solving to get into the magic world without necessarily being a performer, just make yourself very well known to producers. You know, if you're a really good problem solver, you know, you might be able to get brought on as a consultant or something like that, or you know, you might be able to get brought on as somebody who helps create routines for projects. But the way to do that is to build up a brand about yourself. Look at Chris James on Instagram. He's a perfect example. He's now working full-time with Alakazam. He's got tricks coming out with like multiple big producers, and the reason that happened is because he built up a brand for himself on social media. So he went on social media, he was performing other people's tricks, but with his own handlings. He's built up a big audience of people that really love the stuff that he does, and that's brought him onto, you know, a lot of big production companies have seen that about him and have reached out to him to help work on various different things with them. So it's all about building up a brand, I would say. Get people to know who you are and what you're capable of, and then you know, the other thing is I've noticed that people work full-time. People who work full-time in this industry as part of a production company that aren't necessarily performers but are creators, and there are jobs available like that, they normally have another string to their bow, like they're really good video editors or they're really good at Photoshop. So upskill yourself in other areas. Be that person that can offer so much to a production company that when they're looking to hire somebody, you've got so many skill sets, it's almost impossible to turn around and say no to you. So hopefully that all helps. Okay, so the next question is from Andy Putt, who says, Here we go. I asked you 3 weeks ago about an idea to project on the shelf video, and you delivered with 1.5 weeks. A big thank you to that. You're a legend, sir. You're more than welcome. A diamond in the magic community. I appreciate it. I am busy with 2 projects. One I sent you a while ago on Messenger. Terrible at Messenger. I'm really sorry. Send it again. I'll look for it. And one that needs a prototype for sure after I saw your video. So thanks for contributing with good advice to those 2 projects. You're more than welcome. Congratulations on the Penguin Creator of the Year award. Thank you again. Well deserved with your releases in 2024. I think you'll get the hat trick. If you win again this year, maybe you should release a trick with a hat that Penguin next year can have a hat trick. Yeah, that'd be good. Hope you go Undertaker style and get the 21-0 streak. Well, that would be amazing. 2 weeks ago in your Q&A, you said that you always get into problems with Penguin for telling too much, but I think we now know the reason. They never tell you when your projects are going live on the website. Absolutely. Right, here we go. Questions. Wow. Here we go. Number 1, can you do a lot of magician stroke performance 5x5 specials? Yes. Can you do a big one about Daryl? Maybe make it more of one video if it gets too long. Daryl was, of course, the magician for magicians and the best teacher in magical tutorials, if you ask me. Nowadays, we have Javier Fuenmayer, Adam Wilber, Dan Harlan, Greg Wilson, and you with the most clear tutorials in magic. But I think people new to magic or new viewers of this channel deserve to know how much amazing pieces of magic the man brought out. Can you do a top 10, stroke 20, maybe even 50, good God, from his old and updated releases by Murphy's and what we can learn from Daryl? From the little details Daryl's aware of to what pleasure it was to see him perform. Yes, I sound like a Daryl fanboy, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I am for good reasons. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. I would love to do a few videos on Daryl. Daryl was amazing. He really was the magician's magician, and many of the routines that I do were inspired heavily by Daryl. I think he was amazing and a big loss to the magic community. So yes, I will be doing multiple Daryl videos. Now you've asked me, I'm going to get onto that. Okay, so the next question again from Andy Putt is, where's it gone? It's disappeared. Hang on a minute. It has literally gone. That's weird. Where's that video go? Ah, there it is. Sorry, I pressed a button. Right, okay. What kind of EDC magic trick would you recommend to have with you for when a kid of 5 or 6 years old asks you to do a magic trick? Is something with colour maybe a good idea because kids don't give a damn about playing cards? I know playing cards not really EDC. Great question, man. Great question. I would suggest a couple of things. If you want to do magic for 5 or 6 year olds and you want it as an EDC, I'm going to pimp a couple of my own products out very quickly. Level Up, that I bought out recently with Penguin Magic, is great because obviously kids understand what switch cartridges are, and the whole idea of, do you know why they're called switch cartridges? Because they switch. Watch this. Kind of just makes sense, and the colours are really vibrant. It's not like a coin. They understand what's happening. So I'd say Level Up is a really good option there. That would work really well. If you're right, playing cards will not work, but what will work is mind blocks, which is the other thing that I would recommend, because kids love Lego, and it's a picture. Even if they can't read very well, it's a picture. So of that Lego set. So, you know, having them take a Lego set and then telling them what it is, or even using it as a Svengali deck and doing a Svengali type presentation with the deck works really, really well. And much better than using a regular deck. So I would seriously recommend looking into, from my point of view with my products, Level Up and Mind Blocks. Outside of that, I tend to find that young kids love purse frames. Having a purse frame and just producing a coin from it, vanishing the coin and having it appear in the purse frame again, or doing it with a sponge ball, making the sponge ball vanish and appear in a purse frame, anything like that is really good. Kids love using their imagination, having an invisible purse that you're pulling things out of and vanishing things when they go into the purse frame. Kids love that, and purse frame doesn't take up much space at all. On the subject of sponge balls, that's obviously going to work really well. And if you look into Red, which is by Edward something or other. I did a video on it. It's a syringe. That works really well. Kids really kind of get into that whole syringe to make the sponge ball vanish and appear somewhere else. That works really well. Sponge balls in general and sponge bunnies and anything like that, kids will love. Outside of that, I would... Jay Sankey put a trick on projects many years ago, using a $100 bill switch, but with but doing it as a colouring routine. So you have a piece of paper the same size as a bill, and you've drawn a picture on there, and then you take it and you fold it up, and as you unfold it, it's coloured in, and then you do it again, and now it's black and white. Anybody who does colouring book or any sort of colouring routine for kids will tell you that kids love colouring in. It's a great hook. It's why colouring routines are so popular with kids magicians, because the whole concept of colouring something in is kind of really, it's something kids can really buy into. And it's why colouring books and everything are so popular. You do it with a piece of paper and you fold it up and it's black and white and now it's colourful. That kills, and all you need is a thumb tip and a couple of pieces of paper in your pocket. You're good to go. Other stuff that I'd recommend, if you know the Dave Williamson salt routine where it ends up in the cup, that is something that kids love as well, because they can visualize salt. They know salt, and when it vanishes and appears somewhere else, that looks really good. On the subject of colouring in, a colour changing deck will work really well if you don't focus on what the cards are and you focus on the back of the cards. They will, especially if it turns into like a rainbow deck or something, that will work really well as well. Keep it really simple, really visual, something like Modern Times by Henry Evans. All of that works really well. And I'll throw in one of my other projects as well, Keymaster, because kids know that holes can't move. So when you move the hole down the stem, or you make the hole 20 times bigger, like with Gatekeeper, that's something that kids buy into as well. So I'd say if you're looking for an EDC for younger kids, any of that would work really well. Okay, so we've got another question from Andy Putt, who says, how did you ask Sarah to marry you? Did you use a magic trick stroke routine to do it? And if you would do a marriage proposal using magic nowadays, how would you do it? We got engaged very early on. I realized that I had I realized that somehow I'd hypnotized this wonderful woman into thinking that I was fantastic, and I wanted to lock her in before she came to her senses, if I'm being completely honest. But we got engaged after 3 months. It was a very whirlwind thing. Sarah was living with her sister. She'd finished university and she was working in a school, and she was living with her sister. And when we started dating, I was working in a sales company, teaching people how to sell. And we got engaged after 3 months. It was very whirlwind. We moved in before 3 months with each other because Sarah's sister was selling the house, and so she had to leave. And I was living on my own in a house. I bought a house and I was living on my own. It was a decent sized house. And I said to Sarah, well, why don't you move in with me? You got to find another place. So after like a month and a half, 2 months, we moved in together. We went away to Cyprus after 3 months. And whilst in Cyprus, we walked past a jeweller's and there was a beautiful ring there. And she fell in love with it. And I went back and I bought it. And that night I asked her to marry me. And luckily she said yes. And it was a very long engagement. We were engaged. We had a long engagement. We were engaged for probably 3, maybe 4 years, maybe even longer. Probably even longer, to be honest. Sarah would be able to tell you, before we eventually ended up getting married, which is a whole other story because we got married in Vegas. But I didn't do anything magic-y with the wedding proposal. I think that Sarah would have killed me if I had. I literally just asked her to marry me and hoped beyond hope that she would say yes, and she did. But if I was going to do a magical proposal now, I don't know how I'd do it. I hadn't really given it much thought. I don't think I would, I'll be honest. I've been hired before to do kind of ring productions as part of a magic show to get somebody to marry them. And that's all well and good, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't trivialize the proposal by doing a magic trick. It's just not my style. So next time when I move on to wife number 2 and I get rid of wife number 1, I won't use magic. I'll make sure that I do it the traditional way, the way I did it with wife number 1. Okay, next question is Magic Dimitri, who says, not a question. Oh, right, okay. Ryland is a Scorpio and Thea is a Pisces, just like me and my sister. Wow, yeah, snap. Yes, they are. Ryland is a Scorpio and Thea is a Pisces. There you go. Useful information that probably nobody on this this Q&A wanted to know, but you and me. Okay, so the next question is from Magic James Higground, who says, thanks for everything as usual, Craig. Couldn't do this without you. You're more than welcome. Question. I recall on a VMC on the Netrix where a topic of the stereotypical male muggle saying, can you make my wife disappear? Huck, huck, came up. And I believe you described an idea of an impromptu voodoo out to lunch method. Maybe friction pen was involved. Can you elaborate on the idea here, or perhaps point me to what VMC that was on? I come up with a lot of ideas on VMCs, and I just don't remember that, to be honest. Can you make my wife disappear? An impromptu out of this lunch method. I will find the VMC. I'll get Jack to find the VMC and reply to this comment, or I'll get Michael to reply to this comment, because obviously they're all there in the archives. But probably, knowing me, it would be something along the lines of having an out to lunch setup, but with nothing on the half card. And if you say, can you make my wife disappear? I'll say, well, you know, I'll virtually make your wife disappear, and get them to draw a picture of their wife on the half card, and then get them to write their wife's name underneath on the actual card, and then have them take that out and put it in between their hands, and their wife will disappear. It's probably something I was thinking of. That's probably the route I was going to, but I'll get the link for you, and then you can kind of go and check it out yourself, because I'm not 100% sure, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so the next question is from Donald Davison, who says, love the Netrix, thank you very much, and when is there going to be more mentalism on the Netrix? Love all the other content, but I'd like more mentalism. Well, two things about that. One, there is quite a lot of mentalism on there. We have a mentalism section that we set up recently. However, I can officially announce, and this is the perfect time to announce it, I can officially announce that as of Monday, Rich Relish will be joining the Netrix. I wanted to have more mentalism on there, and the way, honestly, that I thought that would be the best way of doing that is by getting who I consider to be one of the best mentalists on the planet involved with the Netrix, and that's what I've done. Rich Relish is on the Netrix. I couldn't be more excited. Rich has got 5 courses going up on Monday, so if you're a Netrix member, you're going to get access to all 5 of those courses, and these 5 courses are all different routines that you can actually put together to create a really commercial walk-around set using nothing but mentalism. And he's going to go through a bunch of different stuff, and then over the coming weeks and months he's going to be putting a lot more stuff on the Netrix as well, and it's all going to be mentalism themed. I'm a big fan of Rich. I was lucky enough to sit in on one of his new projects that's coming out soon from Murphy's Magic, and just his thinking is just next level when it comes to mentalism. I think he's the best kept secret in mentalism, and I think that's going to change in the coming weeks and months. And so I'm very excited. If you're a Netrix member, on Monday you're going to see a bunch of stuff dropping by Rich Relish. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me right here on Magic TV. Don't forget, if you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back again very, very soon with another video, so you can see me again very, very soon. If you haven't already done so, go check out the interview from last night. We had Jack Rhodes go up. He's just everywhere at the moment. Incredible interview. Go check that out. And also, please don't forget, we've got a review show special Sunday night as well. So go check out the review show special. Go check out the interview with Jack. And if you haven't already done so, go check out the Netrix. It's www.thenetrix.com. Go check it out and see what all the fuss is about. I will see you again soon. Thank you for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.